People will need to keep a very, very close eye on me because the Joker should not just be a card you throw away. Oh no, you should pay very, very close attention because this junior heavyweight, this championship is going all the way to the final.
This is Shotzi Blackheart, and you're listening to Tiger Driver Radio.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week of Tiger Driver Radio for all things Ring of Honor, New Japan, and the best of the independents. This is your main man, JP, alongside...
Juicy J.
What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Really?
That was awesome.
That was whack as hell.
Come on.
What the hell? Like, last week's intro, fire. This week, I'm ashamed of you. Go to the corner. Go to the corner. That's it. We're cutting his mic off right now, people.
I failed.
Yo, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, we got to let you know, man, that Juicy J is perpetually a 5-year-old. It doesn't know how to behave. Like, seriously.
Man, I'll practice better for next time.
You know what?
I thought it was good.
Punch yourself. Choke yourself. That's all I got to say. Choke yourself. That's it. No more. No, I'm just playing.
Let's move on.
Yeah, but no, man. Looking at these New Japan brackets, like I said, that's the big topic this week is we're going to talk about the New Japan Cup brackets.
Yeah.
We were a little off. We were like kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to blame my jaded perspective on watching mainstream wrestling. Because you ever notice, man, when you watch like other stuff,
mm-hmm.
they always book like against what you think is logical.
Mm-hmm.
So you think, okay, this is what I really want to happen in wrestling, but that's not what's going to happen because they don't do that.
Yeah. And
I think that's the same way I approached like this bracket.
But I think more or less they went with what you logically would think would happen.
Yeah. Like I said, we broke it down, ladies and gentlemen, and I think we were out of 16 matches.
I think got 9 right.
We got 9 right,
mm-hmm.
which means we got like a D average.
Yeah.
So in some states that's barely passing. in Texas state we're passing. You know, in New York we're passing. But in like California and other places, no, we're not passing. But
we did bad.
We got like a D average, man. We got to go to summer school. Failed. Exactly, man. We failed. But no, man. This New Japan Cup so far has been thoroughly entertaining. And in fact, some people just really shocked me with their performances, man. Like this is some really good stuff. And like I said, I even said in the beginning, it's like you're going to see another side to some wrestlers that you haven't
mm-hmm.
seen in a while, or some of these people are going to take their game to the next level. Yeah,
I mean, one that I could think of top of my head is Yoshihashi, your buddy, and then Archer too. Surprised us. Yeah, so exactly. And then, I was also surprised with the fact that, and we're going to talk in depth about this, but the fact that, we both saw Colt Cabana and Toru Yano actually advance, which I wanted to see that. I know you wanted to see that, but we both agreed that we're probably not going to see it. It wasn't going to happen, but it shocked us.
It shocked us. Like I said, it's my fault for being a jaded wrestling fan because I'm so used to not getting what I want, and not that I'm saying I have to get what I want every time. But like you always think, okay, if I were a booker, this is what I would do, and a lot of times they don't do that. In American wrestling, it's like, all right, well, I guess they're not going to go with what seems logical. But everything seemed for the most part logical, and we went back and we were like, you know what, that does make a lot of sense that these guys won versus what we picked.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. But on top of that, man, we also got an amazing interview with Shotzi Blackheart, the filthy Filipino, the creature from the Black Lagoon. So we're looking forward to that, man. We definitely talk about everything regarding intergender wrestling. And like I said, that has been a hot button topic the past couple of weeks on our show, and just a hot button topic in wrestling as well. Mm-hmm. So we talk a little bit about that. We talk about a little bit about music. And you'll just have to wait and see what she says, man. We also want to give her a shout out to her happy birthday to her as well. I know she celebrates her birthday for multiple days. So happy birthday, Shotzi Blackheart. I think it was technically last week. I could be wrong.
Happy birthday month.
But anyway, happy birthday month. We're just say happy birthday month all week. That's what we're going to do. Happy birthday, Shotzi Blackheart. Interviewed this week. So, man, you want to get down and break down these brackets and see where we went wrong?
Let's do it, man.
All right, man, let's do it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we were 9 out of 16 for these brackets. A lot of surprises. Some things that were very logical. It's like, okay, obviously. But, I don't know, man. Like, let's break this down. Let's finally break this down. I know.
Break it down.
I know on night one, which featured the match of Manabu Nakanishi versus Yoshihashi, the headhunter himself. And I was shocked. Well, I'm not going to say I was shocked. We both agreed that Yoshihashi was going to go over, right?
I think he did a good job.
He did an all right job, but the thing is, I didn't expect him to tap out Manabu Nakanishi. I thought he was just going to hit another move and then that was it.
Yeah, because at first, I mean, I thought he was just going to be, beat him quick. I mean, maybe 5 minutes or so.
Well, like a quick roll-up, like surprise him. I know, that's what I thought. And then, you actually see Manabu Nakanishi try to hit like a over-the-top rope plancha. Mm-hmm. And that was sloppy as hell because he doesn't have the kind of ups to shoot himself up over that top rope and throw his body. He jumped over, landed on his feet like an old man, and then hobbled on top of Yoshihashi. It's the most fucking sloppy thing I've seen in my life. God, damn, Nakanishi, A, you're just not a flyer. You just don't need to do that. And B, you're also too old. Those knees cannot. I don't know about you, but I feel like Nakanishi moves around like he's just, his body is locked up, right?
Yeah, worse than Tanahashi.
Yeah, exactly. Tanahashi, you can see, all right, he has maybe a gimp knee a little bit, but he can move. Yeah. He can still go. Not Nakanishi. So when I saw him do that move, I'm like, what are you doing? Old man? You are not 21 years old. But anyway, a little bit of back and forth. Yoshihashi was a lot more competitive in this match than I thought he was gonna be. Mm-hmm. And he hit the butterfly lock at 12 minutes and 26 seconds and tapped him out for the first match of night one for this tournament.
Yeah, good job for Yoshi.
Good job for Yoshi, man. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll get another victory. We'll see. Anyway, the next match, which featured Tomoaki Hanma, the master of the Kokeshi, against the Holy Emperor Taichi. Now, the one thing I really loved about this, and it goes to what you and I have said all along, that they are building Taichi more and more as a bona fide heel by himself. I mean, he's always been a heel, but I think he's starting to come out into his own, and the crowd is starting to buy into the fact that he's a legitimate threat to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that, he I say you gotta pass it, man. Puff puff give. Puff puff pass. You're lucky you were boys, man. You get shot somewhere else, man. No, man. But the one thing I do like is that Taichi is now becoming a legitimate threat. I remember for a while I used to not care too much about Taichi.
Yeah.
But he's had a lot of impressive matches. And I don't know if you catch on to this, but I feel like Taichi blatantly rips off Toshiaki Kawada's moveset from All Japan Pro Wrestling. Kawada was famous for a lot of his kicks and, of course, his enziguris. That was his famous thing back in the 90s. And I feel like Taichi blatantly rips it off to piss people off. So, I feel like Taichi is so good at getting under people's skin, and it definitely happened a lot in this match.
Man, this guy's the devil.
Ain't nothing but the devil!
I don't know, man. So what did you think about his performance in this match?
Taichi is always great, man. He's one of our favorites that we talked about before.
No,
he's
absolutely.
the best, and especially I'm waiting for him to use that iron claw.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before we see that happen. I'm just waiting, like you. But of course, he did, cleanly hit the Emperor's crucifix tomb, which was basically a modified power bomb. Mm-hmm. And it was overall a really good match. It went on to 17 minutes. So I was surprised to see Hanma go as long as this, because for the longest time he's been in tag matches, very brief singles matches. So he had a decent showing. I didn't think he was going to win. None of us did. But it showed me that, okay, despite him coming back from a neck injury, that he can still go. So, good on him. And then this next one, Juice Robinson versus Chase Owens. And we were wrong.
So wrong on this one.
I admit it. We were wrong. Chase Owens got over. And this is what I'm saying, because when we discussed this, you and I both were like, you know what, man? Like, I want Chase Owens to get pushed, but they're probably going to push Juice Robinson because he's champion. But in fact, it was 24 minutes of back and forth. A very awesome. In fact, I think this elevated Chase Owens.
Yeah.
He definitely, took Juice Robinson's best.
Yeah, they kind of kept using a little bit of the same strategy, trying to throw him out the ring and hit him with the barricade. A little bit of the same...
Like heel tactics.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And the thing about this match is I think this is going to start legitimizing Chase Owens as a singles competitor. Mm-hmm. And this will probably put him in the run to fight Juice Robinson for the U.S. title at MSG. That's what I think. Because like I said, that's the whole thing, how it works in New Japan, is that if you pin a champion, that puts you in proper contention for a title. So, awesome match, back and forth, about 24 minutes, 36 seconds. He did hit the package pile driver, but they definitely beat each other's ass in this match.
Yeah.
So, it was awesome. So, congratulations to Chase Owens. I'm sorry. We're sorry. We were wrong.
But he did good. Oh, yeah.
And then up next, Yuji Nagata against Tomohiro Ishii. This went exactly as you and I both said. Like, it was a constant barrage of Nagata kicking Ishii the whole match.
And then slapping each other in the face, man.
Yeah, that
was crazy.
Yeah, they were just going off on each other. Like I said, there was nothing pretty about this match.
Yeah.
It wasn't about high spots. It wasn't about chain wrestling. It was just... Yeah, exactly.
Some fighting.
Just straight up fighting, bro. Like, straight up just Nagata hitting the slaps and the kicks. Ishii trying to hit his clotheslines and his chops. And did you see their chest at the end, man? Like,
yeah, it looked nasty. Even Nagata was bleeding from his mouth, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, like he took
or his tongue.
Yeah, he probably bit his tongue, got elbowed in the mouth. But yeah, this was a back and forth. Of course, Ishii did, of course, pin Nagata with the vertical brainbuster. But I really think it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely gone either way. In fact, a part of me kind of would have liked to have seen Nagata advance. Because I think for a guy, even though he's 50 years old, but he's still an awesome wrestler. He can still compete at the highest level.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, nonetheless, we were were we wrong or right about that one?
We were wrong, I believe. We were wrong because we got Nagata, yeah.
We thought Nagata was going to go over. But I mean, no less, awesome match, awesome first night. And then going on to night number 2, which had, like I said, further implications. Like I said, if whoever wins this tournament will go on to MSG. And then the first tournament match of the night featured Toa Henare against Lance Archer. Now, the one thing I love, and I don't see often enough, man, is I love Lance Archer's blackout powerbomb, where he kind of, it's almost like a razor's edge, but instead he has you flipped around so you're facing forward, and then just tosses you super high and flips you in the middle of the air and just throws you down.
It's a crazy move.
I love that move. and
a crazy guy.
The American Psycho himself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I really thought they were going to push Henare.
I was hoping so, man. That guy was, he did good against Archer. And I wanted this time, maybe with Umino, we're going to talk about him later. But, man, I wanted him to win.
I did, too. I really wanted him to kind of start getting a push in a positive direction. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Lance Archer advances to the next round with that blackout. But this was definitely a match of, like, just two guys trying to overpower each other the entire time, which can be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Then this next match featured Mad Mikey Nichols, who apparently he's now officially a member of Chaos, because Rocky Romero brought him in.
Oh, yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. So
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and for those of you, like I said, who are not familiar with Mikey Nichols, he was a member of TM61 of NXT, or for you more diehard fans, TMDK out of Pro Wrestling Noah, where they were GHC tag champions, while they were during their time in a Pro Wrestling Noah. Awesome tag team wrestler, impressive as well. Like, he held his own against Hikuleo, and we also thought Hikuleo was going to go over, but he didn't. And then, of course, he hit him only in 8 minutes, which was shocking. He hit him
with a quick match.
With a quick match with the Mikey bomb. Granted, I mean, they didn't really play up to Hikuleo's strength as a big man. Like it seems like Mikey Nichols just kept like dishing out punishment, and it was just very, very. I'm not gonna say one-sided, but Hikuleo wasn't ever able to get any momentum.
Right.
Absolutely. So that, of course, ended with, of course, the Mikey Bomb. And then up next, which is the match that you and I talked about, is Will Ospreay against Bad Luck Fale. And what do you think about this, man?
Man, I thought they were gonna try to build for that finisher for Ospreay to pick up Fale, but I'm glad they didn't because it probably wasn't gonna work. But it was a good match from Ospreay. Like, it was too fast for Fale.
Yeah, like I said, the one thing that Will Ospreay definitely has an advantage of over most people, especially a big man, is his speed.
Yeah.
And of course, he hit the Hurricane Rana and then went into like a roll up and pinned him. And it was a bit of a shock because Fale obviously wasn't beaten up. You know, Fale could have kept going, but he didn't. But the one thing that they kept doing is Bad Luck Fale was definitely playing up to his strengths of being a big man, trying to like keep Ospreay down. And Ospreay was definitely using his high flying and speed to kind of maneuver his way around.
Mm-hmm.
But the match went exactly as I thought it would. But I really was hoping to see that Stormbreaker on a big man like that.
Yeah, man. Imagine if we could have hit that. It would have been incredible.
Maybe one day he will. Yeah. I mean, you never know. But I was hoping to see it in this one, but that didn't happen. So unfortunately, it did not happen. But fortunately, he advances to the next round. And then up next was Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, against Big Mike Elgin.
Big Mike. I love this match, man. This match I thought it was amazing.
Oh, dude, this is probably one of the best matches of probably the match of the night. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, one of my favorite matches of the tournament thus far. Like, this featured the best of Okada. This kind of goes back to what you were hoping for. You wanted to see the proficient, the dominant Okada. And granted, I mean, he had his trouble against Michael Elgin, but Michael Elgin was also a threat. But the point is that it lit a fire under Okada. Mm-hmm. It's like they brought the best out of each other. And there was a couple of times where Michael Elgin hit power bombs, and you would think, oh, man, he might pin Okada. But he didn't.
Yeah, man. I mean, they were trying to hit each other with everything, even the kitchen sink. Because Okada even tried to do Elgin's moves on him. Didn't work, no. And then I know, like I said, Michael Elgin, I think even attempted am I wrong? And I think he tried to even attempt like a tombstone, and then Okada like slipped out. Mm-hmm. And exactly, it's just both of these guys definitely bring out the best in each other. And I know in the past, Michael Elgin has positioned himself into being Intercontinental Champion. And of course, that led to the first ladder match in New Japan against Kenny Omega. Yeah.
I would like to see Michael Elgin being positioned again. There's a lot of wrestlers that I think are ready to be repositioned into like higher slots in the card. And Michael Elgin is a workhorse. So this match definitely showed that. This match definitely brought out a fire in Okada that I think has been lacking for about the past couple of months a little bit, because he's been kind of involved in that war with the Bullet Club and having tag matches with Tanahashi. But this was definitely prime Okada. Came out with the Rainmaker at 24 minutes and 6 seconds. And to be honest, this made me happy to see Okada in top form again.
Yeah, and even showed a little bit of Elgin that he could be a main event guy.
Exactly. And I think, in the future, you got to give Elgin a push into other things. But then we move on to night number 3.
Thrice.
Exactly, at the Baycom Gymnasium and Amagasaki Memorial Park Gymnasium. I'm telling you, man, some of these venue names are really long. Like, they're like, I try to pronounce them, and I think my pronunciation's okay of Nihongo and Japanese, but like sometimes it takes you a minute to read it. It's like, man, damn. That's why I like Korakuen Hall.
Or you like the American stadiums, like AT&T Center. That's it.
A lot of arenas here in America are all named after like a business. Mm-hmm. They're all named after businesses usually. I mean, there's a couple that aren't, like the Cow Palace or Madison Square Garden, but a lot of venues are always named after like a business because a business like bought it out or something. But I don't know. Just a random side note that I thought. Yeah. But on this next night, we featured Hiroshi Tenzan against the Funky Weapon, Ryusuke Taguchi. And we were wrong about this.
Yeah, definitely wrong.
Another wrong answer.
We thought Taguchi was going to lose because maybe Finlay, since he was a replacement, since it was just a replacement. I mean, he shouldn't have won, but he did. He did, exactly.
That's what my logic was. Was like, nah, he's a replacement, so he'll have a nice showing, and then Tenzan will go over. But that did not happen. In fact, he hit a Keto clutch, like a really quick pin,
Yeah.
At like 12 minutes, and then that was it. And Tenzan was clearly, pissed off. And I would have liked to have seen Tenzan advanced, because I would have liked to have seen him compete against another young guy that he doesn't really get the chance to compete with too often. Mm-hmm. But of course, Taguchi held his own.
Little dance at the end.
And we'll see how he fares in the rest of the tournament. And then, of course, his next match was another wrong answer on our part. But it was a stretch, and I understand it was a stretch. It was Hiroshi Tanahashi against Shota Umino. Now, we all thought that Umino was going to pull an upset.
I thought so, man. I wanted him to. Wanted to see it.
Yeah. Man. Unfortunately, he did not. He did tap out to the Texas Cloverleaf at 60 minutes, 48 seconds. But the night previously, I know Umino went out to the outside of the ring and started fist fighting with Tanahashi and even threw him against the guardrail. And then, in this match, he was super aggressive, even going so far as to stealing the Texas Cloverleaf from Tanahashi and using it on him. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, Young Lions are only allowed a certain limited moveset.
Right.
So he had to do what he could. But considering that he had a limited moveset, I was very impressed with how aggressive.
Yeah, it was so aggressive that he even hit Tanahashi with some forearms for, I think it was like 20 or more forearms, and Tanahashi almost got knocked out.
Yeah, he put him down to one leg.
Yeah.
And I guess if you really want to look at it in terms of how things are done in New Japan, that's putting him over pretty well. Yeah. Considering that a guy like Tanahashi, who is, one of the biggest wrestling stars that country has produced, not just New Japan, but in Japan as well, and that the fact that you're allowing this young lion to put him down like that.
And to slap him. There was even a slap that he slapped him really bad, and it looked bad for Tanahashi.
Yeah. The ironic part about this, too, is that while this match is going on, Shota's dad, Red Shoes, was officiating the match. And I would be curious, how does that feel to know that you are the referee of your son's match and you have to basically be partial?
Yeah.
Impartial. You have to be impartial. You can't be biased. You can't worry too much because that's your kid. You have to treat him like another wrestler. He's getting his ass kicked and you can't do anything about it. Like, that would be kind of hard for me.
Yeah, and I think one of the pins that Umino was trying to get, I even felt like Red Shoes was even tempted to hit the 1, 2, 3. Like, it seemed like he kind of messed up a little bit.
Yeah.
Or he had a second thought and then just, picked his arm for just a 2 count. But, man, he could have done the 3. Man, put his son over. Why not?
That would have been something, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, he just does a 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
and that's it? People would have been pissed.
Yeah.
But I know that's not how they do things with the young lions, so they weren't going to do that. But I really wanted to see something happen here. But we were wrong.
Yeah.
But
Red Shoes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but Umino definitely proved himself to be a future star in this match.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, that Red Shoes is probably proud of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. And then this next match, the King of Darkness, Evil, versus Zack Sabre Jr., the master of Zack Sabre time. Anyway, this match went exactly verbatim what we thought was going to go. I mean, Evil seemed to have conducted himself a lot better in this match. But, of course, Zack Sabre Jr. did, of course, make him tap. Of course he did. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Right. I mean, Evil was trying to stay away from the submissions. He was just trying to not fall into Zack Sabre Jr.'s game, and he kind of started to do strikes. But then Zack Sabre did pick that up and started doing strikes as well, and then he started doing all those submissions.
Exactly. That's the thing about Zack Sabre is, like, he's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest. And he definitely may or may not win a striking match against someone who's big as Evil, but the thing is that he can wear down Evil, and that's exactly what he did. But I mean, Evil definitely had a lot more awareness of himself going in. Like, you could definitely tell that Evil was definitely countering a little bit more. But Zack Sabre was still just slightly half a step ahead.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded wrestler.
He's a very well-rounded wrestler. But of course, made him, of course, tap out, which we both expected that to happen.
Yeah.
And then this last match of this night, which in my opinion is the match of the tournament so far. If Okada and Elgin is another competitor, I think this match might overdo it. And this was Kota Ibushi against Tetsuya Naito. And man, talk about a match where two men are just trying to kill each other. Yeah. This wasn't a wrestling match. This is just what can we do to hurt each other? And that's exactly what happened the whole time. I mean, some of the terrible bumps they took in this match, it had me a little scared. You know, like I was a little shocked. Like, for example, when Kota Ibushi hit his dude buster on Tetsuya Naito right on his head, that was a little scary.
Good thing nothing happened to none of them, man.
No, exactly. For what we know so far.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is about like with this match is that this match definitely could have gone, you know, either way. It doesn't really matter. Like, I would have been happy with either result. But I mean, of course, Ibushi won, which I'm happy about. But this match was definitely just two guys killing each other. I mean, there was so many times where I thought throughout the match that, like I said, Naito was going to take it. But looking back, when Ibushi won, it makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, Naito is still Intercontinental Champion. So one of two things can happen. Either Ibushi continues on and actually wins the New Japan Cup to challenge Jay White, or Ibushi makes a strong showing, doesn't win, and that puts him in contention to go against Naito at MSG for MSG, and you know that's going to be an awesome rematch
for the Intercontinental
Champion. Yeah. So either way, however this plays out, I think it would be awesome. I could see both working, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Ibushi is going to win the thing. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later, but I'm also in agreement with you. And of course, we go on to March 11th, night number... Was it 4?
Número 4.
Número 4. And that, of course, the first match of the night for the tournament was Toru Yano against Davey Boy Smith Jr. And, of course, Davey Boy Smith Jr. was trying his best to, like, punish Yano early and, like, get his leg trapped in the barricade, beat him up a little bit, wear him down. And Yano just kept finding ways to just, you know, weasel his way around. And in 5 minutes and 30 seconds, he hit like a real quick pin, didn't he?
Yeah. Yep, he did. That was so fast.
Super fast. 1, 2, 3. Davey Boy Smith looked super pissed. Yeah. Yano immediately ran up the ramp because he knew he was going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
But that sets up Yano versus Colt Cabana.
That's going to be awesome.
Which is going to be awesome. And we were wrong about this match. We thought, as much as we wanted Yano to win, we thought we were going to see a push of Davey Boy Smith, which apparently that didn't happen either.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be Davey Boy versus Makabe.
Yeah, but apparently now we're going to see New Japan's... we're going to see a couple years ago during a War of the Worlds tour of Ring of Honor, Yano and Colt Cabana did have a match, and it was just nothing but like a pure comedy match, which was hilarious. So, and I guess now we're going to see that again, but now we're going to see it in a New Japan ring.
I love comedy matches, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be probably going to be my most favorite match of the whole New Japan.
I'm not going to say it's my favorite because I think that final, whoever that ends up being, which we'll talk about that as well later.
Yeah,
but. That's going to be that's going to be like my favorite match. But Yano versus Cabana is going to be a highlight of the tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be hilarious. and I'm happy to see Cabana in New Japan as well. It's like it just shows you that he's a very diverse and multifaceted wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, he's known for comedy, yes, but he can actually fucking wrestle. He can actually go. Yano, when he wants to, can also do the same thing. So wouldn't it be funny if when they have that match, it starts off comedy and then ends up being super competitive? Which Yano has shown that here and there, where he can be competitive, he can actually wrestle, he can go.
Yeah.
But a lot of times he chooses not to, for whatever reason.
Yeah. And the crowd loves Colt, man. I didn't thought throughout the years of everything he's done wrestling, of course people would love him.
Exactly. So, on that note, the next match after Davey Boy Smith versus Yano was Togi Makabe against Colt Cabana, and there were a lot of times where Makabe was dominating Cabana, and you thought, oh, okay, Makabe might in fact win this match, and we thought he was going to win this match, and then of course Cabana hit the Superman
pin,
which is the Superman pin, which is one of the most hilarious pins ever, and he actually hit it, and I don't think the audience was ready, you kind of like, I'm not saying you expect it, but when it comes to like Yano, you expect him to try to get a quick pin. Like, that's what he tries to do. Like, you're not going to see some devastating finisher from Yano. You're not going to see some submission from Yano. Yano tries everything he can to hit a low blow and a schoolboy, or try to hit some random pin from some weird position.
Or go to the turnbuckles, try to use that.
Exactly. Like, you expect that. I don't think anybody expected such a simple move from Cabana to actually get over Makabe.
To actually work. Yeah,
because Makabe's a tough guy. And I thought, all right, Cabana's going to have to hit some hard-hitting offense to get over. But no, all it took was a Superman pin. And I love
that was awesome.
I love it when he does it.
Yeah.
He yells out, Superman! And then pins. And it's hilarious. So that right there sets up Yano versus Cabana. And I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be an awesome match. But then, it went from funny to very, very serious, which was Satoshi Kojima against Minoru Suzuki. Now, for those of you that don't know, Kojima and Suzuki have a lot of history. History together. Yeah. About a decade earlier, Kojima had a faction named Kojima-gun, and it was Minoru Suzuki that came in there and pretty much took over Satoshi Kojima's faction and took it from him and named it Suzuki-gun. So that is why there is Suzuki-gun. He took it away from Kojima.
Well, interesting.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they have, of course, traded battles in All Japan Pro Wrestling and in Pro Wrestling Noah. So there is a lot of heated history there between these guys, and it definitely came out in this match. Like,
both of them had a lot of rage.
And the thing is, it took like 2 to 3 sets of like machine gun slaps just to wear down Suzuki, because Suzuki he doesn't react to slaps. He has the most devastating elbow in the business, and it was definitely a lot of back and forth. I was surprised to see not as much submission wrestling from Suzuki this time around. This is just both of these guys just hitting each other with elbows and slaps.
Yeah, and then I think outside of the ring too, hitting with chairs and the barricades. I think Suzuki tried to broke it apart and hit him, just threw it at him on top of him.
Oh yeah, he had that just right on his damn head, just broke the chair.
Yeah,
like that. There was no selling of that. Like, he just hit him hard. So that was a real savage match. To go from something as comedic as Colt Cabana to something as serious as this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the last second, he was able to sneak in that God style pile driver. He kind of hit it sideways. He didn't get it completely, but he got it enough to where he got the 1-2-3, and Suzuki advances in the tournament against Kojima. But every time these two guys get in the ring, it's always entertaining. Like I said, it's just nothing but two guys just trying to knock each other out, really.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And then finally, for the end of night 4, and I believe the end of round 1 matches, it was Hiroki Goto against Sanada. Awesome match, 20 minutes, 47 seconds. Sanada, of course, hit his Muda moonsault on Goto, but there were a lot of times where Goto definitely hit a lot of devastating moves against Sanada, to where I thought, okay, he's wearing down Sanada, and Sanada is eventually going to give up. And then, of course, Goto did counter, Sanada's finisher several times. So I was actually kind of shocked that both of these guys were countering each other's best. It was a very 50-50 down the middle. You and I also had a difficult time deciding who was going to win this one, because it could have gone either way, and it did. It was back and forth, but of course Sanada hit his moonsault and the win, and that set him up to advance to the second round.
Yeah, Sanada's a great wrestler, man. I think Kevin Kelly compared him to Ibushi.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, two of the most athletic guys you have on the roster.
Yeah.
Is Ibushi and Sanada, like pure athletes. Like it's undeniable how athletic these guys are.
Both ripped. Both
are high flyers in their own respective ways.
Yeah.
And both are just strong, good-looking guys that, in my opinion, you could definitely build them up into representing the company in the future. So that, of course, concludes round 1.
Round one.
Now the brackets for round 2 are as follows. You have Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens, Taichi versus Ishii, Mikey Nichols versus Okada, Ospreay versus Lance Archer, Ryusuke Taguchi against Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr. against Ibushi, Yano versus Colt Cabana, and Suzuki versus Sonata. This is what the brackets look like now. So, you want to let them know what our new predictions will be now?
Let's do it, man.
We kind of had to reevaluate it, ladies and gentlemen. So, okay, for Yoshi versus Owens, who do you think is going to go over?
Yoshi versus Owens, I think Owens.
I think Yoshihashi is not going to advance. I think they're going to push Owens a little strong, and maybe that'll put him up in contention for the U.S. title.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a hard choice because I think both of them needed a push, but I think Owens.
I think Owens is on the favorable side of that push, exactly. Then the next match will be Taichi against Tomohiro Ishii. Mm-hmm. We originally thought it was going to be Nagata, but of course it's Taichi versus Ishii. And who do you think is going to take this one?
I think Taichi.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I don't think Ishii is going to advance. Usually he's done well in tournaments, but I think Taichi is also a guy that you can kind of see that they're pushing him. So I think Taichi will go on to the next round. And then the next one, which is Mad Mikey Nichols and Kazuchika Okada. Now, they had a tag match on the last night where they both they were on opposite sides, and they both got in each other's face. Which kind of sets up their match against each other. So we'll kind of see how Nichols, being a new member of Chaos, is going to stand up against the leader, Kazuchika Okada. And I think Nichols will have a strong showing, but I think he'll fall short.
Yeah, Okada, he's going to go far.
He's going to go far. So I think Okada will advance. And then the next match will be Will Ospreay against Lance Archer. Who do you got, man?
Ospreay, man.
Ospreay, I agree. I think Ospreay's going to probably get his ass kicked a lot by this big man. Mm-hmm. But Ospreay will find a way to get the 1-2-3. I'd like to see a Stormbreaker, but we'll see. We didn't see in the last round. But
it could happen.
It could happen. Who knows? So that will, of course, if that happens, that will lead into Okada versus Ospreay, which we'll get into that next. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Taguchi versus Tanahashi. I think Taguchi will have a nice showing against Tanahashi, but Tanahashi will advance.
Yeah, the ace. Expect he wins. Yeah,
like I say, Taguchi, surprised people with the first round, but I don't think he's going to go past this. And then after this, it'll be Zack Sabre Jr. against Kota Ibushi. I think expect another classic between these two. Mm-hmm. Definitely a complete clash of styles, but Kota Ibushi will advance.
For sure.
He'll find a way to get through.
Yeah.
And I think the booking for Ibushi in this tournament, I think they're definitely putting him up against guys that are
like super strong.
Super strong. Exactly. And I think that's probably by design. Is if you and I are both correct that he is probably going to take this tournament. But anyway, he'll go over Zack Sabre Jr. in this round. More about that later. Then the next match, of course, will be Yano versus Colt Cabana. Dare I say, I think Colt Cabana is going to take that match.
I think so.
I think they're going to shock people, and Yano will not
surprise everyone. And is his Colts probably? I think is it his first New Japan Cup? Colts?
Yeah, this is like his New Japan debut was on this tour. So good for him, and I think that'll probably do a strong showing for Colt Cabana. He'll probably out cheat Yano, and then pin him to go up against him next. And then of course you have Suzuki against Sonata, and I think Sonata's going to have a difficult time, but I think Sonata will definitely advance.
Definitely go over, yeah.
I absolutely, completely agree. And then, of course, that sets up for the quarterfinals, which will be, of course, Chase Owens against Taichi, Okada versus Ospreay, Tanahashi versus Ibushi, Colt Cabana against Sonata. Now, this is based on our predictions, people, so don't take that as hard news. This is what we think is going to pan out now. So now, between Owens and Taichi, who do you think?
Owens and Taichi, I would say Taichi.
I think Taichi's going to take it. I think they're just trying to build. I think they're going to, like I said, I think they've been hinting at another big push for something else soon. And I think Taichi, Owens, I think will have a strong showing, and he did. But I think Taichi's going to go over. And this next one is, Okada versus Ospreay.
Man, this is going to be a good one.
This is a very, how do you even pick? Because the last two times that I feel that both Okada and Ospreay have met, obviously Okada won. Because both times they met, he was, of course, at the time in the main event picture. I feel like now it's a little bit different. My heart says Ospreay, and I'm going to go with my heart. My heart speaks louder than anyone else's word. I'm going to use my heart. Ospreay. I think Ospreay's going to actually pin Okada for the first time ever, and you're going to see a huge shocker in this tournament.
Yeah, and ditto that, man. Ospreay for sure.
Absolutely. Could be wrong, but I think it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And the next one, Tanahashi versus Ibushi, which will be an entertaining match. But I think you and I unanimously agree Ibushi will go over.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it'll definitely be another close call.
It's Ibushi's time.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's by design, and it's no coincidence that the path that Ibushi has to take to the finals, if in fact he does win, has been against some of the most difficult opponents ever, which is smart booking. And then up next would be Colt Cabana against Sonata. I think this is where you're going to see a different side to Colt Cabana. It's going to be less comedy and a lot more serious. And by all means, Colt Cabana can have great matches. He is not so, like I said, everyone knows him as the funny guy, but he is one of the most versatile wrestlers out there. And it would not surprise me if you see Colt Cabana actually put up a very strong fight.
Because he can be. I think in the anniversary show I think it was in the anniversary show that he seemed, or before that too, that he looks strong. Yeah, absolutely. Because he has that in him. He has that in him. He's done it before. You know, if anybody knows anything, anybody knows that he's had some awesome matches against, CM Punk back in the early days of Ring of Honor. It's no secret. Yeah. But I still think he's going to fall short, and Sonata is going to win over Colt Cabana, but not without a strong showing. Definitely. Exactly. And then this, of course, goes to the semifinals. And if everything plays out as we said... The semifinals? Yes. Man, you'd love that. The sounds, man. if everything plays out like we said it did, or that it's going to, rather, you're going to see the semifinals, Taichi versus Ospreay and Ibushi versus Sonata. Now, between Taichi and Ospreay, who do you think is going to go forward? Man, at first I thought Taichi, but I think Ospreay. I think Ospreay's going to have a super strong showing. Absolutely. And then next round will be Ibushi versus Sonata. And I think this is going to be a very strong back and forth, yeah, man. Hopefully somebody doesn't get hurt, but they're going to, go all out. Steal the show. Yeah. But I still think Ibushi is going to go over. Yeah, especially with Kevin Kelly comparing both of them. Exactly. So, but I think this will definitely put Sonata into some sort of class to where he's a legitimate threat, and he also needs a singles push. Because I think both him and Evil, in my opinion, for right now, I wouldn't want them to be a tag team anymore. I think Sonata definitely deserves a singles push. And with that being said, I still think he's going to fall short, and Ibushi will advance. And that sets up the final. If you and I are correct, the final will be Ospreay against Ibushi, which in my opinion is going to be booked this way because of what happened at Wrestle Kingdom. Ospreay, of course, hit the hidden blade elbow, knocked Ibushi out, put him out of commission for a couple months. That looked bad. Yeah, you could hear it too. Yeah. So I think Ibushi versus Ospreay are going to have a hellacious match. And I think the tournament was designed to do that. It was going to be a rematch where Ospreay is going to be viewed as a credible heavyweight finally, as a threat, and Ibushi is going to get his rematch. Not for the title, but for the chance at the IWGP heavyweight title. And then Ospreay and Ibushi are going to tear the house down and destroy it. But Ibushi will just barely make it. And I personally think Ibushi has been pinned up against some of the strongest names in this tournament by design to build him up. And of course, for MSG, it'll be Kota Ibushi challenging against Jay White. Ooh, man. Which I will be there in person. And whether or not Ibushi will take the title, I don't know. We'll talk about that another time. But I don't know. Those are our predictions, man. I think our predictions are a lot better. Think they're good? I think we should give ourselves a round of applause, and we just obviously just did. Let's do it again. Do it again. Wait, this is better. But yeah, man, I think this is how this tournament's going to pan out. Yes, sir. And we're going to have a very interesting main event at MSG. It's going to be awesome, But another thing I want to touch, now that we've talked about, about the cup, is let's go on to this little next topic, man. Yeah. All right. Now that we've talked about the New Japan Cup, something else was interesting that was kind of brought to my attention
recently, and this kind of will jump off and caveat into this week's interview with Shotzi Blackheart, which we discuss all things intergender wrestling. We discuss how the indies have changed and have grown to the point where now there are so many viable options outside of the WWE that people don't necessarily have to go to the WWE to make a living, and that the independents are so strong that you can work anywhere. And then also that with something like Sabotage Wrestling putting an all-women's card, how you're starting to see the growth of women in North America. And me and Shotzi definitely talk about that. But another thing that was kind of brought to my attention that, you know, after this interview, and I've seen a lot of fans online talk about the whole notion of, you know, New Japan wants to progress to the West. They also need to like have a women's division. What's your take on that?
I think they should.
Okay. Here's why. On one hand, I understand where the sentiment goes of like New Japan needs to have a more inclusive approach to the wrestling, and that includes a women's division. Here's why it makes me a little annoyed that people say that sometimes, because there are so many all women's promotions in Japan that are amazing. I mean, a lot of the stars that you and I enjoy seeing have wrestled in Japan. They've wrestled in Sendai. They've wrestled in Stardom. You know, they've have history wrestling in different other promotions in Japan that are just all women's promotions. And there are options to watch, you know. And the thing is, a lot of these New Japan fans that are like, I feel like there's two different kinds of New Japan fans. There's fans that became fans of New Japan because of the Bullet Club, because of the rise of the Bullet Club, and then the Elite and the Young Bucks and stuff like that. And then you have New Japan fans that have been in tune with the product for a while before, you know, the Bullet Club thing happened. And I feel like a lot of fans that say, oh, New Japan needs its own women's division, I'm not against the idea. I just personally feel like if you really cared a lot about women's wrestling, especially Japanese women's wrestling, why aren't you spending your hard-earned money to go watch Stardom World? Or to go watch Sendai Pro online? Like, as I said, in my opinion, how it would work, why doesn't New Japan work in conjunction with the women's promotion and have their women featured on their cards, but it's still their show? You know what I mean? Like their talent. It isn't just going to be like, oh, exclusively New Japan women's talent. No. They can work with different women's promotions and feature their women on their shows. That's what I think. What I would do. Yeah,
and the reason I said yes is because why limit it to just men? But what I like about New Japan, it's stuck with not stuck. That's a bad word to use, but it's still, I mean, continues on with their traditions and leaves it the way it is.
Exactly, and not that there hasn't been women featured on New Japan cards, but and this has nothing to do with a matter of sexism, but. I think, in my opinion, if people are so upset about New Japan not having a women's division, why don't they bring that same energy and support these other women's divisions or women's promotions that exist in Japan and bring them up too? That's just what I'm getting at. Now, personally, would I like to see New Japan have a women's division? Absolutely. In fact, dare I say, I would love to even see intergender wrestling in New Japan one day. Because there's a lot of things in New Japan that nobody would have ever thought would have happened, and it did. Like, we saw the first ladder match in New Japan like nearly 2 years ago. You know, we also saw a bit. I never once thought that in New Japan we would ever see them headline Madison Square Garden, you know, or have a bigger foreign presence, and then look what happened. It did. So possibilities are endless, and that's one thing that Shotzi kind of alludes to, is that like one day maybe you'll see a lot more intergender wrestling happen on an equal platform. It was kind of the same thing that Roxy the week before was alluding to.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, one thing that Shotzi said that she really likes right now is that the current state of wrestling is that what you see happening in the WWE is really dictated by what's happening on the independents and outside of the WWE. WWE, even though they have the biggest platform, they have the biggest voice out there, we all know that they are not the originators of a lot of things. They take things and repackage it into their own narrative. And people often say like, oh, because of the women's revolution. And there's no denying that the WWE hasn't had a positive influence on women's wrestling. But women's wrestling has been going strong in Japan and in Mexico for many, many years. And I think the next kind of level of equality and the next level of things that could change is we're going to see a lot more intergender wrestling. And I know Shotzi is a big proponent of that, you know, but to kind of go back and make it full circle is that I just think that if people are also going to ask for that, you also need to bring the same energy and same positivity and same opinionated viewpoint and start contributing to what's already there. Instead of saying, oh, New Japan needs to do this. All right, fine, they need to do that. But what are you doing to promote other women's wrestling that currently exists now? Are you doing enough
to support it? Right.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, that's just my own energy. But anyway, up next with the creature from the Black Lagoon herself, the filthy Filipino, Shotzi Blackheart.
And if there's one thing we all know, that if he's got big balls and she's got big balls, but we all know that Shotzi's got the biggest balls of them all. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you...
Who's your daddy? Daddy has arrived, everyone. What's up?
What's going on, Shotzi? How's everything?
Oh, great. You know, I'm a little bit sore because you caught me at an interesting point in my life right now. I just got done getting really violent with Chris Wolf.
Wow, so speaking of really violent, I mean, you guys were all over the place. Yes. On the bar, the ring, the outside.
All over. There was no boundaries. There was no disqualification. We were going for the gold.
Going for the gold. And like I said, you are known to be as reckless as you can be, as hardcore as you can be at times. And one of the things that has been really interesting these past couple of years is that women in North America have been kicking ass more than ever. And what's your take on how the narrative has changed in the past really 10 years?
Well, it went from, tits and ass to kicking ass. You know what I'm saying? So, it's really awesome to be a part of, the evolution of women's wrestling. And even like when I started wrestling, it was still like, it was still the Divas belt. And it's like it's amazing to see this progression and like be a part of it, especially in like the independent scene too, which we've been always been kicking ass, but now we're getting noticed.
Absolutely. And how long have you been wrestling, for anyone that doesn't know out there?
Well, I started training about 5 years ago. I had my first match in December of 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's December, and just within that small window,
yes.
What has been the biggest change you've seen on the independents in terms of how women's wrestling is perceived and well booked, honestly?
I mean, on the independents, I've been seeing a lot more women's matches on shows to where, like, sometimes I would go to shows and there wouldn't be any women's matches, or there would only be one women's match and they'd probably get like 5 minutes. And now women are main eventing shows, and there's probably like 3 to 4 women's matches. We're like going toe to toe with the guys. Intergender wrestling's getting even hotter. So seeing that from when I started wrestling, when there was only like one women's match, and now there's just women promotions everywhere.
Oh, that's very cool. And I'm glad that you brought up the whole intergender concept, because even to this day, in terms of during this whole narrative right now where there's the Me Too movement going on, and there's a lot of things in terms of social rights going on, a lot of people are still very apprehensive and even outright against intergender wrestling. And why do you think people still hold on to this old narrative that it can't be done?
Well, people look at women as victims, and they just think automatically, oh, well, I don't want to see a man and a woman go in there because that's domestic violence to me, which I think is just crazy, because, wrestling is an art form. Wrestling is theater. When I'm in the ring with a man, we're partners. Yes, we are displaying violence, but we're not trying to hurt each other. We're just, we're trying to work together. So for someone to tell me that I can't work with a man, I just find completely sexist. And, some people, they're just never going to change their view on that. But I want to start swaying people of those views, showing the younger fans and teaching them that, hey, women can go toe to toe with men. We got to start now. That way, maybe all the sexist guys and girls can just die and then it'll change.
No, absolutely. Like, death to the fucking patriarchy. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Like, as we're talking about how, I guess people still have a very patriarchal view about pro wrestling at times.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we all know wrestling can be problematic. It's out there. It's outrageous.
Sure.
It's larger than life. But why do you feel as if, or what's your perception? Because me and my co-host Jay have talked about this. It's like, why did it take so long in North America for women's wrestling to get, I guess, a platform where it's been happening a little bit longer in places like Japan and in Mexico?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with WWE, because everyone like looks at that as the top dog. So a lot of people will only change when they change, you know? So like them having Nia Jax, you know, go into the men's Rumble and, you know, starting to have, you know, that narrative of men and women being in the ring together and, you know, women getting more time on TV, then you start to see it on the independent circuit. So I think it's all just like a trickle effect from like the main, which is stupid, because I'm like, we're independent. We don't need to follow what WWE is doing. Like, why do we need them to tell us what is okay on the independents, you know? So I think that unfortunately has some play with it.
No, I mean, I'm glad that you said that, because another thing that we talked about, me and my co-host Jay, is how when WWE, at the end of the day, WWE is such a big part of the American lexicon that they, a lot of times, I guess, dictate the narrative.
Exactly.
Like when I was watching that Monday Night Wars documentary, and it was interesting, it was cool, it was awesome to watch, well done. But the one thing I noticed is that they said that they were the ones that pushed lightweights, and that's what caused WCW to come up with the cruiserweights. I'm like,
right.
No, that's false. Like, I remember seeing Jushin Thunder Liger and Brian Pillman as a little kid first, and then eventually those guys brought in Taka Michinoku and Great Sasuke.
Right.
And then I always kind of felt like WWE was like pop radio, and pop always takes what's going on in the underground and makes it consumable.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, so in a lot of ways, I always felt that as if WWE always took what was going on outside of their sphere of influence and changed it to become more digestible for a more, I guess, kid-friendly audience.
Exactly, yeah, just more, a broader audience for sure.
Yeah, and that's not me at all saying like, oh, you know, WWE sucks, because I mean, anybody in North America pretty much grew up on it.
I'm not either saying, but they do, they're the leaders of this, and people follow them definitely.
Absolutely, which is why like I often kind of shake my head a little bit about how there's so many concepts and ideas within mainstream wrestling that I see, and I'm like, this was happening 3-4 years ago somewhere in the independent somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think all of that's changing now because the independents are hotter than ever, and with AEW coming up, and Lucha Underground having intergender wrestling, and I think that if we get enough steam, WWE is going to be starting to follow us. We're going to be the leaders, and they're going to be like, oh well, we got to play catch up now. So it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, it's when you talk about playing catch up, it's like a couple of years ago, WWE wouldn't look at half of the guys that they have on their roster now. They were considered too small.
Right.
And then now you see them, pretty much showcasing guys that aren't all of, muscle and brawn. Not that there's anything wrong with those guys either. I mean, I think it takes so many types to make a show happen.
Yeah, you got to have variety on a show, definitely.
And with you bringing up AEW and how the independents are hot, you've been wrestling long enough that you've accomplished a lot already. And what are certain things that you still want to accomplish professionally right now?
Well, I just want to have, the most badass intergender matches that will change views. I want to have matches that, someone who was against intergender wrestling watched and was like, oh, wait, you know what? That was actually pretty awesome. And maybe I should change my views on this. I just want to change minds, and I want people to be open to every type of wrestling, and just people understand that wrestling is an art form and there are no rules and we can do whatever we want, you know? I hate that everyone, you know, thinks they're, you know, the critic of wrestling and it's their way or the highway, but it's no one's way. It's whatever happens there between the two opponents, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's more than one way to entertain a crowd,
Exactly.
ultimately.
Yes, there's many different ways. I love all types of wrestling. I love comedy, I love technical, I love flippy, I love, you know, strong style. I love it all, and I want to see it all on every show. If it was up to me, there would be, you know, every different kind of match on every show, you know?
Exactly. So now that you mentioned so many different kinds of styles, you've been out there for a while. Are there certain opponents you have never faced that you wish you could face right now?
Oh, I have a long list. I mean, first of all, my favorite wrestler right now is Serpentico, and I really want to wrestle him. I've always been a big fan of Paul London, Miko Satomura, like
That would be amazing.
Hiroyo, I'm also a big fan of. I've never wrestled Kylie, and I've never wrestled Kaylee Ray, so I would love to get in the ring with them. Man, I have a long list of people that I really want to get in the ring with.
A small little weird story is that years ago, I lived in Okinawa for a couple years, and they had a JWP before they went out of business. They had a bunch of different women come to the island and put on a show for soldiers.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was too young to appreciate it. I did not realize that I saw a very young Meiko Satomura.
Oh, how awesome.
I mean, she got completely destroyed. I mean, you know, she was a young girl at that time.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you could still see that spark of of greatness. Like, you know what, dude, she's badass.
Yeah, right. Even though she's getting her ass kicked, you're like, you know that there's, you know, some people just have that spark, and even when they're just starting out, it's there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's certain people, it's like, you know what, man, like, give it a couple years. They're somebody. Exactly. Like, they're gonna be somebody.
Right.
But I mean, although you listed a couple of dream opponents, what are some people right now that are starting that you think are definitely on their way to becoming something?
Some people that are starting, you know, I just wrestled Tootie, and she's really awesome. Like, she's really new, really young, but she got a great look. I wrestled her at Heavy Metal yesterday, and I feel like there's something there, you know? I mean, that's just like what I can think of at the top of my head right now. But I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of.
I mean, you did get rocked in the head pretty hard today.
Yeah, I did. I mean, you caught me at a weird moment.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
No, and last but not least, like, on our show, we are a huge fan of lists. We love lists.
Yeah.
Right now, top 5 bands that get you through the day before you start a match.
Okay.
Can you list any?
Yeah, well, I mean, right at the top of my dome, it's always the Ramones. The Ramones are number 1. They're my favorite band. I'm a big fan of the Sloppy Seconds, the Queers. I love punk, pop punk, so you know those. It depends on what I'm doing. You know, if I'm lifting, I listen to heavy metal, and if I'm doing some cardio, I listen to some pop punk.
Oh no, absolutely! Like, I'm all about Screeching Weasel. So.
Oh yes, I love Screeching Weasel. I've seen them plenty of times. They're great. I love them.
I lost a tooth at a Screeching Weasel.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. As I'm getting a little bit older, I'm like, I gotta take my shots carefully nowadays.
Yeah. I feel you.
No, absolutely. And before we let you go, like I said, thank you so much for spending time with us. Do you have any words for any fans or just the world out there in general?
Just keep your mind open and support indie wrestling.
That's it. Support indie wrestling. And that means all kinds of wrestling.
All kinds of wrestling. Every single kind.
Cool.
Open your mind.
Alrighty. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
And that right there was our interview this week with Shotzi Blackheart. Like I said, we want to wish her again a happy extended birthday. And I could not agree with her more in the fact that intergender wrestling is something that definitely needs to be pushed. And like I said, women are not victims, ultimately. Women are very much out there kicking ass, whether it's on all women's cards or mixing it up with the fellas. And it's super cool that we basically both kind of had a similar mindset on that. Like I said, I know that I have very strong opinions about how fans are so quick to say, like, oh, New Japan needs to do a women's division. I just think people need to also show the same energy for whatever women promotions does exist out there to push that first before you start asking for other things. But Shotzi definitely had a lot of good points in terms of like how the wrestling landscape has changed, how at the end of the day there's so many viable options out there to be a part of, that it not only is good for fans but is good for wrestlers as well who want to go out and make a living. So it's pretty awesome out there. And also, not to mention, I mean, it's pretty awesome that we both have very similar music tastes. So anybody that loves punk rock is a friend of mine. And I don't know, what'd you think, man?
That was an awesome interview you did, man.
Awesome.
So cool.
Sweet, man. Thank you. And like I said, man, if you guys have any suggestions with anybody else that you want to hear on this show potentially, let us know. In fact, tell them, man, where can they find us?
On Facebook, on Tiger Driver Radio, on Twitter, on Tiger Driver Rad 1, and on Instagram, Tiger Driver Radio.
Awesome. And like I said, if you guys have any suggestions, please feel free to hit us up. Let us know any gripes, complaints, and whatever else. And for next week, expect us to talk about round 2 of matches.
Round número 2.
For the New Japan Cup, with implications towards the main event at MSG. And also, we're going to talk about the Ring of Honor 17th anniversary show, which will happen. And keep in mind, everybody, that when we air these shows and we record these shows, a lot of these shows happen with us previously covering things that have happened in the past week in pro wrestling rather than what we anticipate happening. So bear that in mind. And of course, a lot of our predictions may or may not be hard news by the time it comes out, but these are just our opinions. So if you guys have any suggestions or complaints, gripes, whines, or just want to tell me to fuck off, hit us up on all forms of social media, man. But like I said, on that note, enjoy pro wrestling, support intergender wrestling, and you got anything else, man?
Just this.
I play Pokemon Go every day. I play Pokemon Go.
What? What did they even say in that?
That they play Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go fucking sucks. On that note, what doesn't suck is pro wrestling. Enjoy wrestling, kids. We'll catch you next week.
See you later.